Hey everyone, this is your host Christian Flores with Aspiring Generational Wealth. Today we have Steve Bullard, a realtor, and he's going to tell us how he got in the field. How are you doing, Steve?
Doing good, Christian. How are you this morning?
Good. So, what got you started to be a realtor?
Man, it's kind of a long story, but I'll tell a very, very short version. So, because I don't know that it's that interesting. I was actually a pastor for a long time, a student pastor, and it's a lot like any other job. It's different, but it's like it in that you have certain hours, you have paid time off, you have, things like that. And then my wife and I started a nonprofit called the Pearl House, which is a school and a girls' home in Ghana, West Africa. And that took up a lot of time too. So it became pretty apparent that I needed a more flexible job than church isn't totally 9 to 5, but it's more 9 to 5 than real estate, so you're expected to have office hours and be there and do your job. And so it's hard to do. So I need something more flexible. Plus being a student pastor, I was approaching 40, and that you're not, it's not necessarily an old man's game. So that sort of opened some doors, had some friends in real estate, and they talked to me, and more or less a friend of mine kind of recruited me into doing it. And so I started in 2013.
Do you need to go to school for it?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's not like going to like a real school. It's almost like going to night school for a couple of months. There's real estate academies. You can do them online, or a lot of brokerages do them, and some other independent places do them. But you go to class for, I can't remember how many hours it is. It takes a while. It took me about a month to get through it online. You kind of go at your own pace. You do it online, but yeah, you have to pass the test. So you have to go to school and pass the test to get your real estate license. Then you take your real estate test. So you have to show, at least in Oklahoma, I think most states, every state's a little different, but they're, I think for the most part, similar in that you have to prove that you passed real estate school, academy, or whatever you want to call it. And then you have to pass your real estate exam for that state.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 hours, but is there
I don't remember. I blocked it out of my mind as soon as it was over. And then you have to do 90 hours, I believe, the first year after you get your lessons. Like to get, you have your first your license. You get a provisional license, which you can still do everything. You're not really limited, but after a year, you have to pass another 90 hours of like CE, basically.
Is that like it? Because like I'm in life insurance, and like every 2 years you need to continue, like every month you need to do like an hourly education.
Yeah, some continuing ed. Yeah, in real estate in Oklahoma, at least, it's 21 hours of CE every 3 years. So it's not that bad. And there's like 6 or 7 hours are required. There's certain things you got to get it in, like ethics and fair market housing and certain things like that. And then like 15 hours are kind of more elective stuff. Do what you want.
Okay. Are there any things that you do to become a better realtor?
Yeah. So one of the things is your CE can actually be useful. If you're interested in commercial real estate, for instance, you're just doing residential and you want to get into commercial, or vice versa, you can take classes and get credit for it that actually teach you about commercial or residential, or how to negotiate better, or just all kinds of things that make you sharper. And the most brokerage houses, like mine, for instance, but I know most do, have monthly meetings or sales meetings. They typically there's usually something in there that's a good, like yesterday was ours. We talked about some strategies in this market when there's a lot of multiple offers and there's a lot more buyers, sellers, et cetera. So you always have to sharpen yourself. There's all kinds of companies that do CRM or sales or different things, and lead generation companies for real estate that offer different conferences. And those are usually pretty beneficial. I don't go to a lot of real estate conferences, but I've been to a handful. And it's like all your realtor stereotypes are just there in one building. It's pretty great for people watching too, I might add.
I was gonna
We're an
say,
eclectic bunch.
with the market the way it is, do you see like a recession coming?
Man, I don't know. I hate to play economist. It's the market's difficult to predict. A lot of people do. I'll say that I hear that from a lot of people. You learn who to listen to in real estate. You work with different lenders. Lenders usually keep their kind of ear to the rail more than we do in terms of what financially is happening. So some of the lenders I talk to are real pessimistic, and some are like, be fine. Recessions come. I mean, I would say, just generally speaking, it probably will happen. It depends where you live. If you're in a place where your $300,000 home you bought in 2016 is now worth $900,000, then and recession's a little different than a market crash maybe, but you might be sitting on a bubble there. You might see housing prices drop pretty dramatically. In Tulsa, where I am, we have some of the lowest housing prices in America. And so they've been coming up, but I feel like they're still just coming toward the mean. So I don't see Tulsa house prices dropping much, if any. House prices have actually never dropped in Tulsa in its history. So it'll be a first if they do. But houses here, you bought a house for 170 5 or 6 years ago, it might be like 250 now, which is still pretty drastic increase. That's if you haven't really done anything to it except general maintenance. But it's still pretty good, but I don't know that they'll drop. But yeah, I think generally, economically speaking, we'll probably, people are saying there'll be a recession. Again, I'm not an economist or a prophet.
How has your business changed since, I guess, the start of COVID? Have you seen a big growth of people wanting to buy homes?
Yeah, I really have. I think that's been across the board nationally. And I don't know, there's been a lot of, I don't know if you're going to ask, if you're kind of wanting to know what caused it or what I think caused it, but it's definitely happened. I think there's 2 or 3 factors from talking to people that know way more about it than I do. One is the housing crisis of 2008. You saw inventory kind of stop being created, but the demand didn't expose it really over the next decade. And so all of a sudden you had like new construction, for instance. That's really the big marker in real estate. Where's new construction? And so new construction was way down, and now it's trying to catch up. And so you're seeing there was low inventory then, but now it's exposed. So I think the other thing was in low interest rates. They were getting down to like the 2s. In fact, for a while there on a 15-year, you could get like 1.75 or something like that which is like free money. And then you had COVID, which, and this is kind of sounds anecdotal, but I think you had a lot of people just stuck at home with their kids, and they're like, I had people call me like, you got to get me a house with a pool. I can't take this any longer. I got to get my kids out of the house. And so I think people's lack of space, and people just sat around and looked at Zillow and stuff all day and just thought, man, I'm ready to move. But then again, no one wanted people in their houses, so listings weren't high. So it was a perfect storm of a lot of things. I'm probably leaving out 4 or 5 more important factors, but that's what I saw. But definitely, to answer your question, yes.
How is the market set? Do you think people set the market, or it's the home set the market?
It's a good question. I think I haven't really thought about this, but my initial answer would be people. I think consumers typically set the market. There's definitely other factors. I don't think that's 100% deal, but I think consumers, for the most part, set the market. And one thing, this isn't 100% correlated to that. But when I'm talking to someone about listing a house, it used to be a big deal. Like, all right, we got to find the sweet spot price. Is your house, should we set it at, 249.9 or, 649 or whatever their house is. And now I'm telling them, like, it doesn't matter. Just put a price on it. As long as it's not too high, the market's going to tell you what your house is worth. So it's not as important. I mean, you don't want to overprice, but you can't really underprice right now too much. It's pretty easy to get within 30K of the list price you got to be at, and you're fine, because the market's going to tell you what the price is. But yeah, people are paying crazy. In Oklahoma, they're not paying, it's not as nuts, but people aren't way overpaying. I mean, so the market's contained by the consumers somewhat.
Yeah, I saw like some people like they're paying like 3 times like the price, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, there's desperate people with a lot of money too. So I think you're seeing some of that. Yeah. And you could argue that's it's the old supply and demand, right? If you've been out there and you've lost about 11 offers, you put in 11 offers and got beaten every time, at some point you're like, no, we're bringing it. We're going 180K over in cash and no inspections, nothing, just
so what's
pay for your kids' college.
What's the process like to do it? Like, what's your process?
To do to sell a house or just run my business?
Either, both.
Okay. Just generally, in a business model sense, I like to work by referrals. And so word of mouth. So that means if I helped the Smith family buy a house, and they're really nice young couple with a new baby or whatever, buying their first house, they have friends and they're going to say, hey, you need to call Steve. He did a great job with us, took care of us, helped us walk through the process. We didn't know anything about buying a house. He always answered our questions, even if we thought they were dumb. He took the time to answer them, whatever. And so I'll get more people just like them. They were a nice couple. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like nice people have nice friends. Like, you don't have a nice couple and all their friends are jerks, So it seems like people are kind of, birds of a feather kind of thing. So it seems like I get good referrals from them. Whereas someone just calls the sign, or I get a lead from like Zillow or something like that, no, they might be nice. They might be very entitled. They might be hard to work with. And so work's more fun when you deal with nice people. If you ran a retail shop downtown and people came in, you want to deal with nice folks. You want repeat cut clients and that kind of thing. Same kind of deal. So I try to work by referral, which the key to real estate is just, I found it's just making sure your friends and family remember you're a realtor. It does hurt your feelings when you look on Facebook and someone's like holding the key with some stranger, like, I got a new house. You're like, hello, but that's my fault for not making sure they understood that, like, oh yeah, because people run to you be like, oh, I should have called you. I totally forgot, So you got to remind them. So every little tweet, every Facebook post, it just says I'm doing an open house or something like that. That's really just to remind people I'm a realtor. That's all it is. I don't care if they come to the open house or not. That's fine, but that's not really the point. There's a sub point. So my business is try to work by referral, make sure people know me. I'm not a big bus stop picture guy or billboard guy or anything like that. Just make sure my circle of influence knows me. And so that's kind of do that. In terms of the mechanics of the job, it's important. It's really easy for me because I'm a laid back person, friendly person. Like, I feel like I'm buddies with my clients, even if they're kind of new to me, like they're referred over. I feel like I become friends with them, and it's easy to kind of let my guard down a little bit, but I do try to stay professional. Hey, let's get these things signed. Let's get every I dot, every T crossed. Let's not leave anything to chance on the contract. And so try to keep the business side business, and try to do everything by the book if possible. I think it's important. I've not been sued yet. but almost everyone who's been doing real estate for a while has been get sued, whether you did anything wrong or not. It's just the nature of people. Sometimes, you get in a house and someone's roof flies off, that's your fault, so 3 years later. So but the more you take care of your business professionally, you're better off. So making an offer nowadays. So I don't know if that's something you're interested in. You're kind of talking about how I go about it. So that might be more of what you meant when you first asked the question, but like making an offer these days is pretty interesting. So if you're out there in the business of thinking about looking for a house, here's what it's like nowadays. I mean, the first thing I would do is talk to a lender, or if you're a cash buyer, that's great. But if you're not, talk to a lender, find out where you stand. Because most people, if they're renting right now, you're in an apartment, you're looking to buy your first house, you're paying $1,400 rent or $800 rent or whatever you're paying rent. Like that's probably what you want to pay for a house, unless you're getting a raise or you've saved up a lot of money, you're ready to step up. But you're like, okay, I can pay $1,500 a month, but you don't know what that translates into house price and stuff like that. Talk to a lender, check your credit, find out where you stand, say, this is how much money you have to bring to closing. This is what you'll pay per month if you buy this house at this price point. You can go up to $325K or something like that, and you'll be fine where you want to be if you put this amount down and whatever. So everybody has a different amount they want to put down and stuff. So that's the basic stuff. What's changed about now with multiple offers being in on everything is you might have to put more money down. And so one thing people don't always know is that after you buy a house, you do inspections and all that stuff, and then you get an appraisal. So you mentioned someone paying like 3 times the house price. So just to keep it simple, if it's $100,000 house and you pay $300,000 for it, and you did that with financing, the appraisal's not going to be $300,000 unless there's comps that support it, but they're going to go by what's sold in the area. So say the highest house is 150. So you get a 150 appraisal. So you're not going to get a loan over 150. So you have 150,000. It's called an appraisal gap between what it appraised for and what you paid for. So that's cash you have to bring to closing. So you've put, I know it's a ridiculous example. If you're buying $100,000 house, you probably don't have $150,000 laying around, but I'm just trying to do easy numbers here. So, you're going to put 5% down. So you're going to bring 5,000 to closing plus your closing costs. So maybe 11,000 or something like that to closing. And now you got to bring another 150,000 to closing. So that's what happens with appraisal gaps, or you have to negotiate the price back down. Sometimes you can meet in the middle or something. So say you meet in the middle, 225. So now you got to bring an extra 75K to close. So, I mean, that's the mechanics of it. So you have to make sure you're pre-qualified, and then you have to be very aware of how much money you have to actually bring to closing, remembering that you still need to have some money. You might want to put new carpet in or whatever stuff for the house. And then in addition, just having money. You can't put every dime you have. And so you can't be poor afterwards. So you have to figure all that out. So now a more realistic thing, you put an offer in on a $250,000 house, you offer $272, and you put in a $5,000 appraisal gap clause. You're saying, I'll pay $5,000. I got an extra 5K I can put down if it appraises low. And so that's the kind of stuff you have to help people understand and be wise about it. And people ask me a lot of times, like, is this a good financial decision? I'm like, no, but it's a good house. I mean, am I overpaying for this house? Yeah, maybe, but it's not going to drop, it's not going to, and the house prices are continuing to go up. So if you still buy a house today, it's still going to keep going up for the foreseeable future. I mean, again, we talked about earlier, eventually it'll stop going up, but like they are now, but for now they are. So that was a long rambling answer. Sorry, but it kind of answered a lot of different aspects of your question.
No, I appreciate it. I got like a lot of information from it. What's a tip for a new house buyer?
What's a tip for a new house buyer? I would say kind of what I said. I would get your ducks in a row.
Mhm.
If you are coming from a rental situation, you're probably ready to go. Obviously, you make sure when your lease runs out, penalties, stuff like that. Make sure you know when you're ready. Um, get all your finances figured out, so you know exactly how much you can spend, so you don't go over. But you kind of know where you want to be, and then and this will sound like a plug, but I mean, I really mean it. I think you should use a buyer's agent. You should talk to a realtor to help you buy, because we can help you negotiate the process. In most states, it doesn't cost you anything to use a buyer's agent. Um, all the commission gets paid from the seller, so it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't usually benefit you not to either. So they're going to help you with getting a good lender. They're going to help you with figuring out all these clauses and how to make a competitive offer and stuff. Because it is disheartening when you go and you find a house, you fall in love with the house, and you don't get the house. And multiply that by 12, doing that over and over again. It's just kind of like um, going through breakups sometimes. It's really hard on your soul. So yeah, I would start there. Make sure you get all your, because if you just start going to open houses and get on Zillow, and then all of a sudden you call a sign, you're like, I really want this house, but then you're not ready. Maybe you have your house to sell, your lease isn't up till August, or you're not even qualified yet. You're just not gonna have a chance. So you're looking at 15 offers on the table. You're throwing out the ones that are right off that aren't ready to buy, and so you got to be ready. I mean, it's like you got to be it's like it's like the soup Nazi episode of Seinfeld, like where you get up to order soup and you're not ready. The guy's like, go away, come back 1 year, no soup for you. It's like if you're not ready, you're just out. So that's the biggest thing, is be ready to roll before you even open up Zillow.
How long does the process take?
Just to get ready?
No, just from like, let's say you buy a house, like how long is like the closing?
It's usually about a month. It can be 45 days. Everyone's behind, and it depends in your area what housing market's like. If appraisers are behind, inspectors are behind, title companies are behind, abstracting's behind, underwriters are behind, then it could take a little longer. But most people around here can still close a house in 30 days. So from time both parties sign the contract to you actually sit at the closing table, sign everything, get the key, you're probably talking about 30 to 35 days generally.
Okay.
Cash can go quicker.
So cash is still king.
Cash can go faster. It's king in that you don't have to do an appraisal. Mm-hmm. But the seller gets the same kind of money at the end. They don't care usually.
I thought when like a seller buys a house, they pay for like the closing fee.
When the seller sells it?
Yeah.
Not really in a seller's market. They don't. I mean, they pay what's generally a 6% commission. Mm-hmm. That comes from the seller, and then their own closing costs are like, a few $100, maybe 1,000, 1,500, something like that. Because you're paying some closing fees, some title fees, and then kind of your prorated taxes and stuff for the year, whatever. But yeah, the 6%, which each realtor in the deal gets 3% typically. That all comes from the seller. That all comes out of the sales price.
What advice do you have for like a young realtor that's coming into the business?
Connect with someone who can help you. Network in your office. It's big. Talk to especially some old guy who's getting tired, or lady. I'll use guy generically. I mean, somebody who's getting tired and doesn't like the rat race anymore. Just be like, what are all your tricks? And they might even give you some of their territory, kind of thing. But find out from them, get a mentor who can teach you the business. Don't be afraid to ask questions. because you do not want to make a mistake. I mean, just ask, even I remember being young, asking the other agent on the other side if I was doing a deal. If she was she may work for a different agency, and I'd be like, you've been doing this for 30 years, man. Did I fill this out right? and how do I deal with this? And I try to learn from everybody I could. Everybody loves to tell you what they know. They love it. So it's all those are good questions. And the other thing is, write a lot of notes. Get out the old pen and stationery and write a lot of notes, handwritten notes. Just say, hey, my name's Steve. I don't know if you knew this, but I'm in real estate now. So if you know anyone ever wants to buy or sell, or if you do, love to help them, give me a call, throw your card in there. That just tells people you're a realtor. I mean, you can't, again, it goes back to what I said, they got to know you're a realtor, you're in real estate. And use social media for the same. Just get the word out.
How big do you think social media helps?
It's huge. It's huge. Some people use it really well, and I'd actually like to use it better. There's a lot of people are utilizing TikTok and YouTube very well. That's something I should do, but I haven't really yet. I mainly just tweet like, hey, remember me. So, which helps some.
Okay, I got like a minute and a half. Well, I gotta ask.
Okay.
What are you? We're both Oklahoma fans. What are your expectations for this season?
So my expectations are really low, so that way I can be excited. So that's just my policy, really. Not because last year we're all kind of hurt. We all expected big things last year, so we all have a little bit of we all need a little therapy to get through a little bit of the anguish we all went through. So my expectations are low, but I know we're going the right direction. I don't know how many wins that'll translate into this year. I mean, could it be a magical 2000 season again? I guess it's possible. I'm hopeful for that, but I think we'll have some growing pains. I think we'll see some really good things we like lining up correctly and tackling, stuff like that. Not blowing games late, not shooting ourselves in the foot with poor game management, stuff like that. I think we'll just see more sound fundamental football. We might be overall a little less talented this year. It's hard to say. Maybe not, but it's hard to say. But I think we'll block and tackle better. I think we'll do things. I think we'll do the little things, details correctly, which I think will actually be a better team in 22 than we were in 21. That team was kind of painful to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. All right, it's gonna end